Before we begin the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The grand ballroom of the St. Regency Hotel shimmered like something out of a dream. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, casting warm golden light across marble floors, so polished they reflected every sequined gown and tailored tuxedo. Tables draped in ivory silk lined the perimeter, each centerpiece a tower of white orchids and flickering candles. The annual Riverside Charity Gala was the event of the season, where old money mingled with new fortunes, and everyone who mattered made an appearance. Sophia Bennett stood near the champagne fountain, gripping her glass a little too tightly. Her emerald green dress hugged her curves in all the right places, the fabric smooth and expensive, borrowed from her roommate who worked in fashion. The strappy silver heels, however, were her own poor decision. Beautiful but treacherous, they made every step feel like a gamble. She shouldn't even be here. When her boss assigned her to cover the gala for the lifestyle magazine where she worked as a junior writer, Sophia had imagined herself tucked in a corner with a notepad, observing from the sidelines. Instead, her press badge had been confiscated at the door, some mix-up with credentials, and now she was just another face in the crowd, a face that knew absolutely no one. Sophia took a sip of champagne, the bubbles tickling her nose, and tried to look like she belonged. Around her, laughter erupted in clusters. Women in diamonds leaned toward men in expensive watches, their conversations a blend of business deals and vacation homes in the Hamptons. She recognized a few faces from magazine covers: a tech mogul, a real estate heiress, a television producer known for turning unknown actors into household names. And then there was him. Ethan Calloway stood near the far wall, surrounded by a small circle of admirers, though he looked anything but interested. Tall and broad-shouldered, he wore a black tuxedo that fit him like it had been stitched directly onto his body. Dark hair swept back, sharp jawline, and eyes the color of storm clouds. Cold, distant, unreachable. Sophia had written a piece about him once, back when he'd acquired his third company before turning 30. The article had called him a genius. The internet called him ruthless. She looked away quickly, reminding herself she was here to work, not gawk at billionaires. That's when it happened. A man appeared beside her, smiling too widely, his cologne overwhelming. He looked about 50, his tuxedo straining slightly at the buttons, a glass of scotch in one hand. "All alone, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice syrupy and invasive. Sophia stiffened. "I'm fine, thank you. A beautiful woman like you shouldn't be standing by herself. Let me keep you company." He leaned closer, and Sophia instinctively stepped back, her heel catching on the edge of the carpet. She stumbled, her champagne glass tilting dangerously. Before she could hit the ground, a strong hand caught her elbow, steadying her instantly. Sophia gasped, her heart hammering, and looked up into a pair of gray eyes that seemed to see straight through her. Ethan Calloway. "Careful," he said, his voice low and smooth, like expensive whiskey. His grip on her arm was firm but not rough, and the scent of cedar and something crisp surrounded him. Sophia blinked, her brain short-circuiting. Thank you." The man with the scotch stepped back slightly, his smile faltering. "Calloway. Didn't see you there." Ethan didn't even glance at him. His attention stayed fixed on Sophia, those piercing eyes studying her face, as if memorizing every detail. Then, without breaking eye contact, he spoke, his tone casual, but carrying an edge sharp enough to cut. "My date and I were just about to take a walk. Excuse us." Sophia froze. "Date?" Before she could protest, Ethan's hand slid from her elbow to the small of her back, guiding her away from the champagne fountain and the now deflated man with the scotch. Her mind spun in confusion, her pulse racing. She didn't resist, mostly because her traitorous heels made any sudden movement risky, but also because Something about the way Ethan moved, confident and unyielding, made it seem pointless to argue. He led her through the ballroom, past clusters of guests who turned to stare, whispers rippling in their wake. Sophia's cheeks burned. When they reached a quieter corner near the tall glass doors leading to the terrace, Ethan finally stopped and released her. Sophia spun to face him, her eyes wide. What was that? Ethan adjusted his cufflinks, his expression unreadable. That was me saving you from a very tedious conversation. I didn't need saving, Sophia shot back, though even she knew that was a lie. One dark brow arched. The way you were gripping that champagne glass suggested otherwise. Sophia opened her mouth, then closed it. He wasn't wrong. She crossed her arms, feeling defensive and flustered all at once. You called me your date. I don't even know you. And yet, here we are. His lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile, barely there, but enough to make her heart skip. Ethan Calloway. I know who you are. Sophia lifted her chin. Sophia Bennett. Pleasure. His gaze swept over her, slow and deliberate, and Sophia felt heat crawl up her neck. You don't belong here, do you? Her jaw tightened. Excuse me? Relax. It's not an insult. Ethan leaned one shoulder against the wall, looking infuriatingly at ease. You're gripping your purse like it's a life raft. Your heels are clearly torturing you. And you've been standing alone for the past 20 minutes, watching everyone else like you're writing a research paper. Sophia gaped at him. Have you been spying on me? Observing, he corrected smoothly. There's a difference. Didn't know whether to laugh or throw her champagne at him. You're unbelievable. I've been called worse. His eyes glinted with something that might have been amusement. Now, here's the situation. I need a favor, and you look like you could use one too. Sophia narrowed her eyes. What kind of favor? Ethan straightened, his expression shifting into something more serious. Pretend you're mine tonight. The words hit her like a physical force. Sophia stared at him, certain she'd misheard. What? There's a woman here, Ethan said, his tone matter-of-fact, who's been trying to corner me all evening. Her father wants to merge companies, and she seems to think a marriage proposal is part of the package. If she believes I'm already involved with someone, she'll back off. Sophia blinked. So you want me to be your fake girlfriend? For a few hours. Yes. That's insane. Is it? Ethan tilted his head, studying her. You're here alone, clearly uncomfortable. And judging by the way that man approached you, it won't be the last time tonight. Stick with me, and no one will bother you. You'll have access to better champagne, better food, and you can leave whenever you want. In exchange, you smile, stay close, and help me avoid a very inconvenient conversation. Sophia stared at him, her mind racing. This was absurd, utterly absurd. And yet, as much as she hated to admit it, he had a point. She was drowning here, and he was offering her a life raft, even if it came with strings attached. Why me? She asked finally. Ethan's gaze softened, just a fraction. Because you looked like you needed an escape as much as I did. Sophia bit her lip, weighing her options. She could say no, go back to awkwardly hovering by the champagne fountain, dodging creepy men and feeling out of place. Or she could take the gamble, play along, and maybe, just maybe, get a good story out of it. Against every logical instinct, Sophia heard herself say, Fine, but only for tonight. Ethan's smile widened, slow and devastating. Deal. Sophia barely had time to process her decision before Ethan's hand found hers. His fingers were warm, steady, and the simple contact sent a jolt up her arm that she absolutely refused to acknowledge. He laced their fingers together naturally, as if they'd done this 1,000 times, and led her back into the heart of the ballroom. Relax, he murmured, his voice low enough that only she could hear. You look like you're walking to your execution. I feel like I am, Sophia whispered back, forcing a smile as a passing couple nodded politely in their direction. Ethan chuckled softly, the sound rumbling from his chest. Just follow my lead. They stopped at a table near the center of the room, where a few of Ethan's associates stood talking. He introduced her smoothly, his hand never leaving hers. This is Sophia. She's been kind enough to accompany me tonight. The group smiled, offering polite hellos, though Sophia caught the curious glances, the subtle once-overs. She straightened her posture, channeling every ounce of confidence she didn't feel, and smiled back. Lovely to meet you, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. One of the men, silver-haired and distinguished, raised his glass toward Ethan. You've been holding out on us, Calloway. Didn't know you were seeing anyone. Ethan shrugged, his expression giving nothing away. I prefer to keep my private life private. Smart man. The silver-haired man winked at Sophia. Don't let him work too much. He has a habit of disappearing into his office for days. Sophia laughed lightly. I'll keep that in mind. Ethan squeezed her hand gently, a silent thank you, and guided her away before anyone could ask more questions. They moved through the ballroom like a choreographed dance, stopping occasionally to exchange pleasantries, Ethan's presence commanding attention wherever they went. Sophia marveled at how effortlessly he navigated the room, his cold exterior softening just enough when he spoke to her, making it believable. At one point, they passed a tall, blonde woman in a stunning red gown. Her eyes locked onto Ethan, her smile bright and predatory. She started toward them, but Ethan turned slightly, pulling Sophia closer, his arm sliding around her waist. That's her, he murmured against Sophia's ear, his breath warm. Sophia's pulse spiked. What do I do? Just stay close. The woman reached them, her smile never faltering. Ethan, I've been looking for you everywhere. Ethan's expression remained polite but distant. Victoria. Good to see you. Victoria's gaze slid to Sophia, her eyes sharpening. And who's this? Sophia Bennett, Ethan said smoothly. My girlfriend. The word sent a strange flutter through Sophia's chest, even though she knew it was a lie. Victoria's smile tightened. Girlfriend. How unexpected. I don't recall hearing about you. Sophia felt the subtle challenge in the woman's tone, the way she looked her up and down as if searching for flaws. Something in Sophia stirred, a stubborn refusal to be dismissed. We prefer to keep things low-key, Sophia said, leaning slightly into Ethan's side. Ethan's not one for making headlines. Ethan's lips twitched, and she felt his hand press lightly against her waist, a silent approval. Victoria's eyes narrowed, but she recovered quickly. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Ethan, we should catch up later. Daddy's been hoping to speak with you about the merger. I'll reach out to him next week, Ethan replied, his tone polite but final. Victoria hesitated, clearly wanting to say more, but Ethan was already guiding Sophia away. Once they were out of earshot, Sophia exhaled sharply, her heart pounding. That was terrifying, she muttered. Ethan glanced down at her, amusement flickering in his eyes. You handled it perfectly. Did I? Sophia looked up at him. I thought she was going to throw her drink at me. She considered it. Ethan's smile widened. But you didn't flinch. That's what mattered. Sophia shook her head, a laugh bubbling up despite herself. You're insane. You know that, right? Possibly. He stopped near the terrace doors, releasing her waist, but keeping her hand in his. Come on. Let's get some air. They stepped outside onto the stone terrace. The night air was cool and refreshing after the warmth of the ballroom, and the city lights stretched out before them like scattered stars. Sophia leaned against the railing, breathing deeply, letting the tension ease from her shoulders. "Thank you," Ethan said quietly. Sophia turned to look at him. "For what?" "For playing along. I know this wasn't what you signed up for tonight." She shrugged, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Honestly, it's better than awkwardly standing by the champagne fountain." Ethan studied her, his gaze softer now, less guarded. "You're a good actress." "So are you." Sophia tilted her head. "That whole cold CEO thing you've got going on, is that real, or is it just for show?" He was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "A bit of both." "Why?" "Because people expect it." His voice was low, almost reflective. "When you run a company, when you make the kind of decisions I make, you can't afford to be soft. Weakness gets exploited." Sophia felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name. Sympathy, maybe, or understanding. "Sounds lonely." Ethan's eyes met hers, and for a second, she saw something raw beneath the surface. "It is." The moment stretched between them, fragile and unexpected. Sophia's breath caught, her heart doing that annoying, fluttering thing again. She looked away, reminding herself this was just pretend. None of it was real. "So," she said, breaking the silence, "how much longer do we have to keep this up?" Ethan checked his watch. "Another hour, maybe 2. Think you can survive?" Sophia laughed. "I'll manage." They stood there for a while longer, the sounds of the gala drifting through the open doors behind them. It should have felt awkward, but it didn't. Instead, it felt strangely comfortable, like they'd known each other longer than a single evening. When they finally went back inside, the ballroom had shifted. The music was louder, the dancing more energetic. Ethan led her to the edge of the dance floor, then turned to face her. "Dance with me," he said. Sophia blinked. "What?" "We're supposed to be a couple. Couples dance." "I'm terrible at dancing." "Lucky for you, I'm not." He held out his hand, waiting. Sophia hesitated, then placed her hand in his. He pulled her onto the dance floor, one hand settling on her waist, the other holding hers. They moved together, slow and measured, and Sophia tried not to think about how close they were, how his chest pressed against hers, how his scent surrounded her like a warm blanket. "See?" Ethan murmured. "Not so bad." Sophia looked up at him, her breath catching at the way he was looking at her. Like she was the only person in the room, like this wasn't pretend at all. "Ethan." "Shh." His hand tightened on her waist. "Just dance." So she did. And for a few perfect, impossible minutes, Sophia let herself forget it was all an act. The days following the gala blurred together in a strange haze. Sophia returned to her tiny apartment, kicked off those torturous heels, and collapsed onto her worn couch with a sigh of relief. She should have felt normal again. Back to reality. Back to deadlines and coffee-stained notebooks and her cluttered desk at the magazine. But she didn't. Instead, her mind kept drifting back to the ballroom, to Ethan's hand on her waist, the way his eyes had softened when they stood on the terrace, the unexpected comfort of dancing with him. She told herself it meant nothing. It was one night. A performance. By now, Ethan Calloway had probably forgotten she existed. She was wrong. On Tuesday afternoon, Sophia sat at her desk, typing up a piece about local boutique openings, when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost ignored it, but curiosity won. The text was short. "Dinner. Tonight. 7 p.m. I'll send a car. Ethan." Sophia stared at the screen, her heart doing that ridiculous skipping thing again. She typed back quickly. "Why?" His response came immediately. "Because I enjoyed your company. And because Victoria's hosting a dinner party, and I'd rather not attend alone." Sophia bit her lip, torn between logic and temptation. Logic said this was a bad idea. Temptation said she wanted to see him again. Temptation won. Fine. But you owe me better shoes this time. A single word appeared on her screen. Deal. That evening, Sophia stood in front of her closet, panic rising. What did one wear to a billionaire's dinner party? She settled on a simple black dress, elegant but not too flashy, paired with comfortable heels she could actually walk in. When the car arrived, a sleek black town car with a driver in a crisp suit, Sophia felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life. The drive took 20 minutes, winding through the city until they reached an upscale neighborhood she'd only seen in magazines. The car stopped in front of a modern mansion, all glass and sharp angles, lights glowing warm against the evening sky. Ethan waited at the door, dressed in a dark gray suit that made his eyes look even more intense. He smiled when he saw her, a real smile, not the polite mask he wore for strangers. "You came," he said. "You sent a very persuasive car." Sophia stepped out, smoothing her dress. "So, what's the plan tonight? More fake girlfriend duties?" "Something like that." Ethan offered his arm. "But try to enjoy yourself, too." The dinner party was smaller than the gala, maybe 15 people gathered in a dining room that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. Long table, candles flickering, crystal glasses catching the light. Victoria presided at one end, her smile sharp as ever, though Sophia noticed the way her gaze lingered on Ethan, assessing, calculating. Throughout the meal, Ethan played his role perfectly. He kept Sophia close, his hand occasionally brushing hers, leaning in to murmur comments that made her laugh. To everyone else, they looked like a couple completely at ease. But Sophia noticed the small things. The way Ethan's jaw tightened when Victoria mentioned her father's business proposal. The way his fingers drummed lightly on the table when the conversation turned to mergers and acquisitions. After dinner, guests mingled in the adjoining lounge. Sophia found herself standing near the windows, looking out at the city lights, when Ethan appeared beside her with 2 glasses of wine. "Surviving?" he asked, handing her one. "Barely." Sophia took a sip. "Your world is exhausting. Tell me about it." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sophia turned to him, curiosity winning out. "Why do you really keep asking me to these things?" Ethan was quiet, his gaze distant. "Because you're easy to talk to. You don't want anything from me." "Except better shoes," Sophia teased, his lips curved. "Except that. Everyone here wants something," Sophia said softly. "Don't they?" "Yes." Ethan's voice was low, almost tired. "Business deals, connections, favors. It's all transactional." "And me?" Sophia met his eyes. "What am I? A transaction?" Ethan looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable flickering across his face. "No. You're different." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Sophia's heart raced, her mind spinning. This was still pretend. It had to be. But the way he was looking at her didn't feel fake. Before she could respond, Victoria appeared, her smile too bright. "Ethan, darling, we're about to play cards in the study. You simply must join us." Ethan's expression shifted back to polite neutrality. "Perhaps later." Victoria's eyes flicked to Sophia, thinly veiled irritation crossing her features. "Your friend is welcome too, of course." "Thank you," Sophia said sweetly. "But I'm not much of a card player." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Pity." After she left, Ethan let out a slow breath. "I should probably make an appearance. Will you be all right here?" Sophia nodded. "I'll survive." He hesitated, then leaned in close, his voice dropping. "If anyone bothers you, find me." The protective edge in his tone sent warmth through her chest. Sophia watched him walk away, then turned back to the window, trying to calm her racing thoughts. This is pretend, she reminded herself. Just pretend. But it was getting harder to believe that. Later, as Ethan drove her, home himself, insisting the driver take the night off, they rode in comfortable silence. Sophia stared out the window, exhausted, but strangely content. "Thank you," Ethan said quietly, "for tonight." "You keep thanking me," Sophia replied. "Maybe you should just admit you enjoy my company." He glanced at her, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Maybe I do." When they reached her apartment building, Ethan parked and walked her to the door. Sophia turned to face him, suddenly nervous. "So," she said, "same time next week?" Ethan smiled, a genuine warm smile that made her knees weak. "I'll text you." Sophia nodded, fumbling for her keys. Before she could unlock the door, Ethan spoke again. "Sophia." She turned back. "This." He paused, searching for words. "This doesn't have to be just pretend, if you don't want it to be." Sophia's breath caught. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. A dozen responses flashed through her mind, but only one felt right. "I'll think about it," she said softly. Ethan nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "Good night, Sophia." "Good night." She watched him walk back to his car, her heart a chaotic mess. Inside her apartment, Sophia leaned against the door, her mind reeling. What was she doing? Falling for a billionaire CEO who lived in a completely different world? It was insane, reckless, impossible. And yet, as she replayed his words in her mind, she couldn't stop smiling. Sophia told herself she wouldn't text Ethan first. Pride, dignity, self-preservation, all the usual reasons. But by Thursday afternoon, her resolve crumbled. She sent a casual message. "Still alive, or did Victoria finally corner you?" His response came within minutes. "Alive. Barely. Dinner tomorrow?" Sophia stared at the message, her stomach doing flips. This was becoming a pattern, a dangerous, thrilling pattern. She typed back, "Only if you promise no more dinner parties." Deal. Just the two of us. Her heart skipped. Just the two of us. That sounded less like fake dating and more like something real. Friday evening, Ethan picked her up in a car far less flashy than she expected. A simple sedan, understated and elegant. He wore jeans and a dark sweater, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "No tuxedo?" Sophia teased as she slid into the passenger seat. "Thought I'd try being a normal human tonight," Ethan replied, a hint of amusement in his voice. They drove to a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant. Just cozy. Sophia raised an eyebrow as they sat down. "A billionaire at a mom-and-pop restaurant. I'm shocked." Ethan smiled. "I'm full of surprises." Dinner was easy, comfortable in a way Sophia hadn't expected. They talked about everything and nothing. Ethan told her about growing up under the pressure of family expectations, his father's relentless push for perfection, the loneliness of always being the smartest person in the room. Sophia shared stories about her chaotic childhood, her mother's endless optimism, her dream of becoming a real journalist instead of writing fluff pieces about boutique openings. "You're good at what you do," Ethan said, his tone serious. "Don't sell yourself short." Sophia flushed. "You've never even read my work." "I have, actually." He pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly, then turned the screen toward her. It was her article about him, the one from 2 years ago. Genius or Ruthless? The Rise of Ethan Calloway. Sophia's eyes widened. "You kept that?" It was the first time someone called me a genius without asking for a favor in return. His gaze was steady, intense. "I liked your honesty." Sophia didn't know what to say. Her chest felt tight, warm, overwhelmed. After dinner, They walked through a nearby park, the night air cool and crisp. Ethan's hand brushed hers, once, twice, and then he laced their fingers together. Sophia's heart thundered, but she didn't pull away. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia said quietly. "Anything." "Why me? Really?" She looked up at him. "You could have anyone. Why keep dragging me into your world?" Ethan stopped walking, turning to face her fully. His expression was vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "Because when I'm with you," he said slowly, "I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. You don't expect me to be perfect. You just see me." Sophia's breath hitched. The words wrapped around her heart, squeezing tight. "Ethan." He stepped closer, his hand rising to cup her cheek. "Tell me to stop, and I will." Sophia couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. So instead, she kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, testing. But then Ethan's arms slid around her waist, pulling her closer, and the kiss deepened. Sophia's hands found his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath her palms. The world around them faded, leaving only this. Only him. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Not pretend," he whispered. "Not pretend," Sophia agreed. They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the city humming around them. For the first time, Sophia let herself believe this might actually be real. The following week passed in a blur of stolen moments, coffee dates between her deadlines, late-night phone calls that stretched past midnight, Ethan showing up at her office with lunch, ignoring the stunned stares of her coworkers. It felt like falling, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. But reality had a way of catching up. On Wednesday, Sophia attended a networking event for local journalists. She wore her best professional outfit, determined to make connections, maybe land a better assignment. The event was held at a trendy rooftop bar, the kind of place where everyone seemed to know everyone. Sophia was chatting with an editor from a competing magazine when she saw him. Daniel Monroe, her ex-boyfriend. Her stomach dropped. They'd dated for 2 years before he'd left her for a job opportunity in another city, promising to stay in touch, then ghosting her completely. Seeing him now, looking polished and confident, sent a wave of old hurt crashing through her. He spotted her at the same moment, his eyes widening briefly before he smiled and headed her way. "Sophia." "Wow, it's been a while." "Daniel." Her voice was cooler than she intended. "You look great." His gaze swept over her, and she hated that she felt self-conscious. "Still at the magazine?" "Yes." "That's good." He paused. "I'm actually back in town. Got a position at Herald Tribune. Senior editor." "Of course he did." Sophia forced a smile. "Congratulations." They talked for a few more painful minutes before Daniel excused himself. Sophia exhaled slowly, her hands shaking. She hated that he still had this effect on her. Hated that seeing him made her feel small. She texted Ethan without thinking. "Bad day. Can I see you?" His response was immediate. "I'll pick you up." "Where are you?" 20 minutes later, Ethan's car pulled up outside the bar. Sophia slid into the passenger seat, grateful and embarrassed all at once. "What happened?" Ethan's voice was gentle but edged with concern. "Ex-boyfriend," Sophia muttered. "Ran into him. It was awkward." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Did he hurt you?" "A long time ago, yes." For a moment, Ethan said nothing. Then he reached over, taking her hand. "Where does he work?" Sophia laughed despite herself. "You're not going to ruin his career, Ethan." "I could." His tone was matter of fact. "I know. But don't." Ethan studied her, then nodded. "All right. But if he bothers you again, I'll let you terrify him." His lips twitched. "Deal." That night, Ethan took her to his penthouse. It was the first time she'd seen where he lived, and it was exactly what she expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, sleek modern furniture, everything expensive and minimalist. They sat on the couch, Sophia tucked against his side, his arm around her shoulders. It felt safe, solid. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for coming to get me. Always." Ethan pressed a kiss to her temple. "You don't have to face things alone anymore." Sophia's chest tightened. She wanted to believe that, wanted to trust that this was real, that he meant it. But a small voice in the back of her mind whispered a warning. "He's a billionaire. You're nobody. This can't last." She pushed the thought away, choosing instead to focus on the warmth of his embrace, the steady beat of his heart beneath her ear. For now, this was enough. The first crack appeared on a Saturday night. Ethan had invited Sophia to a gallery opening, a small private event for an up-and-coming artist he'd invested in. Sophia wore a burgundy dress that made her feel elegant, her hair swept up in a loose bun. Ethan stood beside her, his hand resting possessively on her lower back, introducing her to collectors and critics as if she belonged in this world. Sophia was admiring a large, abstract painting, vibrant blues and golds swirling across the canvas, when she felt Ethan stiffen beside her. "What's wrong?" she asked quietly. His gaze was fixed across the room. "Nothing. Excuse me for a moment." Before she could respond, he was gone, moving toward a group of men in expensive suits. Sophia watched, confused, as Ethan shook hands, his expression cool and controlled. One of the men clapped him on the shoulder, laughing at something Ethan said. That's when Daniel appeared beside her. "Fancy seeing you here," he said, holding a glass of wine. Sophia's stomach twisted. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "Covering the event for the Tribune," he gestured around. "Perks of the new job. You?" "I'm here with someone. The Calloway guy." Daniel's eyebrows rose. "Didn't peg you for dating billionaires." Sophia bristled. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." Daniel shrugged. "Just seems out of your league, that's all." The words stung more than they should have. Sophia opened her mouth to snap back, but then Ethan was there, his presence sudden and commanding. He stepped between them, his expression cold, his gray eyes icy. "Sophia," Ethan said, his voice low. "Who's this?" "Daniel Monroe," Daniel said quickly, extending a hand. "I'm a journalist. Sophia and I used to—" "I know who you are." Ethan didn't take his hand. "And I know you're the ex who couldn't be bothered to call after leaving town." Daniel's smile faltered. She's with me now." Ethan's voice was quiet but edged with steel. "So unless you're here professionally, I suggest you move along." Sophia's breath caught. There was something almost dangerous in Ethan's tone, a possessiveness that was both thrilling and unsettling. Daniel looked between them, clearly uncomfortable, then muttered something about needing to check his notes and walked away. Sophia exhaled slowly, her heart pounding. "Ethan." "Did he upset you?" Ethan's gaze was still hard, his jaw tight. "A little. But you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He turned to face her fully, his eyes blazing. "I don't like the way he looked at you. Like he still has a claim." "He doesn't." Sophia reached up, touching his cheek. "You know that, right?" Ethan's expression softened slightly, but the tension didn't fully leave his shoulders. "I know. But I still don't like it." Sophia studied him, seeing something new beneath the surface. Jealousy. Raw and unfiltered. "Ethan," she said quietly, "I'm here with you. Only you." He closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. "I know. I'm sorry. I just—" He broke off, frustration crossing his face. "I'm not used to feeling like this." "Like what?" Like I might lose you." The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in Sophia's chest. She pulled him down, kissing him gently, trying to pour every reassurance into the contact. When they pulled apart, Ethan's forehead rested against hers. "Let's get out of here." They left the gallery, driving in silence back to Ethan's penthouse. Once inside, Sophia kicked off her heels, sighing in relief. Ethan loosened his tie, pouring them both a drink. "I overreacted," he said finally. "At the gallery." Sophia accepted the glass, taking a sip. "A little." "I don't—" Ethan paused, choosing his words carefully. "I don't share well." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "I'm not a possession, Ethan." "I know that." His gaze was intense. "But when I saw him talking to you, looking at you like that, I wanted to—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "Wanted to what?" "Claim you, in front of everyone." Sophia's pulse quickened. The honesty in his words, the raw emotion, it was overwhelming. "You don't have to claim me," she said softly. "I'm already yours." Ethan set down his glass, crossing the room in 2 strides. He cupped her face, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones. "Say that again." "I'm yours," Sophia whispered. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, and Sophia melted into him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I don't want to lose you," he murmured against her hair. "You won't," Sophia promised, even as that small voice of doubt whispered in the back of her mind. But over the next few days, Sophia started noticing things. The way Ethan's hand tightened on hers when other men approached. The way his eyes darkened when she mentioned having lunch with a male colleague. The subtle tension in his voice when she talked about her work, especially if it involved interviewing someone. It wasn't controlling. Not quite. But it was intense. On Thursday, Sophia had lunch with her editor, Marcus, a kind older man who'd been mentoring her. When she mentioned it to Ethan that evening, his expression shifted. "Marcus?" he repeated. "My editor. You've met him." "Right." Ethan's tone was neutral, but his jaw was tight. "Ethan, he's like 60, and happily married." "I know." "Then why do you look like you want to break something?" Ethan exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. I hate the idea of you with anyone else, even professionally." Sophia's concern deepened. "Ethan, that's not healthy." "I know." He looked at her, conflict clear in his eyes. "I'm trying. This is all new to me. Caring this much, feeling this much." Sophia softened. She crossed the room, wrapping her arms around him. "I'm not going anywhere. But you have to trust me." "I do trust you." His arms tightened around her. "It's everyone else I don't trust." Sophia pulled back to look at him. "We need to talk about this. Really talk." Ethan nodded, but before they could continue, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening. "I have to take this. Work emergency." He stepped away, his voice clipped and professional as he handled whatever crisis had arisen. Sophia watched, a knot forming in her stomach. She loved him. She was sure of that now. But she was also starting to realize that loving Ethan Calloway came with complications she hadn't anticipated. Later that night, lying in his bed, Ethan asleep beside her, Sophia stared at the ceiling. She thought about Daniel's words at the gallery. Out of your league. Was she? Was this whole thing destined to implode? Ethan stirred, his arm pulling her closer even in sleep. Sophia closed her eyes, trying to quiet her racing thoughts. "Tomorrow," she told herself. "Tomorrow, we'll figure this out." But deep down, she knew the storm was just beginning. Sophia Bennett had never been the kind of woman who let a man define her. She'd built her career on her own, lived independently, prided herself on not needing anyone. But lately, she found herself thinking about Ethan constantly. His touch, his voice, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her. It was consuming, intoxicating, and terrifying. By Monday morning, Sophia was determined to regain some sense of normalcy. She threw herself into work, pitching a feature story about local entrepreneurs to Marcus. He approved it enthusiastically, assigning her to interview 3 business owners, including a young tech startup founder named Alex Chen. The interview was scheduled for Tuesday afternoon at a trendy coffee shop downtown. Sophia arrived early, reviewing her notes, her phone buzzing with a text from Ethan. "Thinking about you. Dinner tonight?" She smiled, typing back. "Can't. Interview running late. Tomorrow?" His response took longer than usual. "Who are you interviewing?" Sophia frowned. "Does it matter?" "Just curious." She hesitated, then typed. "Alex Chen, tech entrepreneur, for the feature I mentioned." The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Okay. Be safe." Something about the exchange left Sophia uneasy, but she pushed it aside when Alex arrived. He was young, maybe 30, with an easy smile and an infectious enthusiasm about his company. The interview went well. Alex sharing stories about building his startup from scratch, the challenges of securing funding, his vision for the future. At one point, Alex laughed at something Sophia said, leaning forward slightly. "You're really easy to talk to. Most journalists make me nervous." Sophia smiled. "That's the goal. Make you comfortable so you forget you're being interviewed." "Well, it's working." They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing naturally. Sophia didn't notice the sleek black car parked across the street, or the man inside watching through tinted windows. That evening, Sophia was editing her notes at home when her doorbell rang. She opened it to find Ethan standing there, his expression unreadable. "Ethan, I thought we were meeting tomorrow. Can I come in?" Sophia stepped aside, confusion and concern warring in her chest. Ethan walked into her small living room, his tall frame making the space feel even more cramped. He turned to face her, hands in his pockets. "How was your interview?" he asked, his tone carefully neutral. "Good. Alex was great. Very open, passionate about his work." "Alex," Ethan repeated the name, something dark flickering in his eyes. "He seemed friendly." Sophia's stomach tightened. He was professional. Was he? Ethan's gaze was intense, because from where I was sitting, it looked like more than that. The words hit her like cold water. "Where you were sitting. Ethan, were you watching me?" He had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. "I was in the area." "The area?" Sophia's voice rose. "That coffee shop is across town. You don't have any offices there." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I wanted to make sure you were safe." "Safe?" Sophia stared at him, anger rising. "Or were you checking up on me? Does it matter?" "Yes." Sophia crossed her arms, her heart pounding with frustration and hurt. "Ethan, you can't just follow me around. That's not normal." "I wasn't following you." His voice was defensive. "I was nearby and saw you through the window." "With Alex?" "Yes." Laughing, leaning in close. "Because we were in a loud coffee shop having a professional conversation." Sophia's hands shook. "God, Ethan, do you hear yourself?" He looked away, conflict clear on his face. "I know I'm being irrational, but seeing you with him, I just what? Assumed I was doing something wrong?" "No." Ethan stepped closer, his voice dropping. "I was afraid he'd see what I see, how incredible you are, and that maybe you'd realize you deserve someone better than me." The anger drained out of Sophia, replaced by something softer, sadder. "Ethan, I'm not good at this," he continued, his voice raw. "Relationships. Trusting. My father, He broke off, shaking his head. He taught me that people always want something. That trust is a weakness. And now I'm with you. And I want to trust you. I do, but you're scared, Sophia finished quietly. He nodded, looking vulnerable in a way that broke her heart. Sophia moved closer, taking his hands. I'm scared too. This is all new to me. But Ethan, if this is going to work, you have to trust me. Really trust me. Not just say it and then follow me to interviews. I know. His grip tightened. I'll do better. I promise. Sophia wanted to believe him, wanted to think love could fix this. But a small part of her wondered if his past had left scars too deep to heal. They spent the rest of the evening talking, really talking, about his childhood, his father's impossible expectations, the loneliness of always having to be perfect. Sophia shared her own fears, her worry that she wasn't enough for his world, that eventually he'd see her as everyone else did. Ordinary. You're not ordinary, Ethan said fiercely. You're extraordinary, and I'm an idiot for making you doubt that. They fell asleep on her couch, wrapped in each other, the conversation feeling like a turning point. But the following week, things got worse. Sophia landed a huge interview, a profile piece on Senator Catherine Mills, a rising political star. It was the kind of assignment that could launch her career. She was thrilled, texting Ethan immediately. His response was lukewarm. That's great. When's the interview? Friday, at her office. I'll drive you. Sophia frowned. Ethan, it's downtown. I can take the subway. I don't want you taking the subway. I take it every day. Not for something this important. I'll drive you. Sophia's frustration bubbled up again. I don't need you to drive me. I'm perfectly capable. I know you're capable. I just want to help. They went back and forth, the conversation deteriorating into an argument. Finally, Sophia snapped. This isn't helping, Ethan. This is controlling. Silence on the other end. Then, his voice cold. I'm trying to take care of you. I don't need to be taken care of. I need to be trusted. The call ended badly, both of them frustrated and hurt. Sophia threw her phone onto the couch, tears of anger burning her eyes. She loved him. God, she loved him so much. But this intensity, this need to control, it was suffocating. On Friday, Sophia took the subway to the senator's office, conducting the interview with professionalism and poise. It went brilliantly. The senator was warm, open, sharing insights about her career and her vision for the future. Sophia left feeling exhilarated. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. How did it go? Amazing. She was incredible. I'm glad. Can I see you tonight? Sophia hesitated. Part of her wanted to say yes, to fall back into his arms and pretend everything was fine. But another part, the part that valued her independence and self-respect, knew they needed space. I think we need to talk, she typed. Really talk. About boundaries. The response took several minutes. Okay. My place. 7 p.m. Sophia arrived at his penthouse that evening, her stomach in knots. Ethan opened the door, looking exhausted, his usual composure cracked around the edges. Come in, he said quietly. They sat across from each other in his living room, the city lights glittering behind him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Sophia broke the silence. I love you, Ethan. His eyes widened slightly. It was the first time she'd said it, out loud. I love you, she continued, her voice steady. But I can't be in a relationship where I feel like I'm being monitored, where every interview, every conversation with another man makes you spiral. I know. Ethan's voice was rough. I've been seeing a therapist. Sophia blinked. What? After our fight, I realized I needed help, professional help. He looked at her, raw and honest. My therapist thinks I have control issues stemming from my childhood, my father's need for perfection, the pressure to never show weakness. I'm working on it, Sophia. I swear I am. Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. That's good. That's really good. But I understand if it's not enough. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. If you need to walk away. Sophia stood, crossing the room to sit beside him. She took his hands, feeling them tremble slightly. I don't want to walk away, she said softly. But I need to know you're really trying, that this isn't just words. I am. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I promise. I'm trying. Sophia buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. She wanted to believe him, wanted to think love and therapy could fix everything. But as she held him, a quiet voice whispered that the hardest battles were still ahead. For the next few weeks, things improved. Ethan made a visible effort to respect Sophia's space, to trust her without question. He stopped asking detailed questions about her interviews, stopped offering to drive her everywhere, stopped tensing every time she mentioned a male colleague. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Sophia, in turn, made an effort to include him in her world. She invited him to a work happy hour, introduced him to Marcus and her other colleagues, made sure he felt like part of her life, not just an outsider looking in. One evening, they were cooking dinner together in Ethan's massive kitchen, something that had become a ritual. Sophia was chopping vegetables while Ethan handled the pasta, and the domesticity of it all made her heart swell. I talked to my therapist about you, Ethan said suddenly. Sophia looked up. Oh? She thinks I'm terrified of losing you because you're the first real thing I've ever had. Sophia set down the knife, moving closer. What do you mean, real? Ethan turned off the stove, facing her fully. Every relationship I've had before was transactional. Women who wanted my money, my status, my connections. But you. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You wanted me when you thought I was just some stranger at a gala. You didn't know who I was, what I had. You just saw me. Sophia's throat tightened. Ethan, and that terrifies me, he continued, his voice thick with emotion. Because if you leave, it won't be because I lost my fortune or my status. It'll be because I wasn't enough. Just me. And I don't know if I can survive that. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. You are enough. You've always been enough. I'm trying to believe that. Then let me help you. Sophia kissed him softly. We'll figure this out together. That night, wrapped in each other's arms, Ethan told her things he'd never told anyone. About his mother's death when he was 12, how she'd been the only warmth in a cold household. About his father's emotional distance, the way he'd turned Ethan into a project rather than a son. About the crushing loneliness of success, standing at the top with no one beside him. Until you, he whispered against her hair. You're the first person who made me feel less alone. Sophia held him tighter, her heart aching for the broken boy beneath the powerful man. In the weeks that followed, they fell into a rhythm that felt sustainable. Ethan continued therapy, working through his control issues and fear of abandonment. Sophia continued thriving in her career, her profile on Senator Mills earning praise and opening doors. They supported each other, challenged each other, loved each other. But then Victoria re-entered the picture. Sophia was leaving work one evening when a sleek car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, revealing Victoria's perfectly made-up face. Sophia, right? Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. Victoria. Sophia's guard went up immediately. Get in. Let's talk. Every instinct screamed at Sophia to refuse, but curiosity won out. She slid into the back seat, keeping her purse close. Victoria wasted no time. "I'll be direct. You're completely wrong for Ethan." Sophia's jaw tightened. "Excuse me? Don't get me wrong. You're lovely. But you're out of your depth." Victoria's gaze was cold, assessing. "Ethan needs someone from his world, someone who understands the pressure, the expectations, the business. You're a journalist. You write fluff pieces about boutiques." The words stung, hitting every insecurity Sophia had tried to bury. "My career is none of your business." "Maybe not. But Ethan is." Victoria leaned forward. "He's under enormous pressure right now. A merger that could make or break his company. And he's distracted. By you. If Ethan has concerns, he can tell me himself." "He won't." Victoria's smile was sharp. "Because he's infatuated. But infatuation fades, Sophia. And when it does, he'll realize you're a liability, an ordinary girl playing in an extraordinary world." Sophia's hands trembled with anger, but she kept her voice steady. "I think we're done here." She stepped out of the car, slamming the door harder than necessary. As the car drove away, Sophia stood on the sidewalk, her heart racing, Victoria's words echoing in her mind. Out of your depth. Ordinary. Liability. She wanted to dismiss it, to laugh it off as jealousy. But deep down, a small part of her wondered if Victoria was right. That night, she didn't tell Ethan about the encounter. She couldn't. Not without admitting her own doubts, her own fear that maybe she wasn't enough for his world after all. Instead, she threw herself into work. When Marcus approached her with an investigative piece, a deep dive into corporate fraud at a major financial firm, Sophia jumped at the opportunity. It was risky, potentially career-making or career-ending, but she needed to prove herself. To herself. Ethan noticed the shift. "You've been distant lately," he said one evening as they sat in his living room. "Just busy with work," Sophia replied, not quite meeting his eyes. "Sophia." He tilted her chin up, forcing her to look at him. "Talk to me." "It's nothing. Just a big project." "What kind of project?" She hesitated. The investigation involved multiple financial firms, and while Ethan's company wasn't directly implicated, it existed in the same world. Telling him felt like crossing a line. "Just an investigative piece. Corporate fraud." Ethan's expression shifted, something guarded sliding into place. "Which companies?" "I can't say. Journalistic integrity." For a long moment, they stared at each other, tension crackling between them. "You don't trust me?" Ethan said finally, his voice flat. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" He stood, pacing. "You're investigating something in my world, something that could impact me, and you won't even tell me what it is. Because it's my job, Ethan, and I have to keep it separate." "Separate?" He laughed bitterly. "Is that what we are? Separate?" "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" Sophia stood, frustration boiling over. "I meant that I need to do this on my own. I need to prove that I'm more than just your girlfriend, that I have value beyond who I'm dating." "I never said you didn't. You didn't have to." The words burst out before she could stop them. "Everyone else does. Victoria, your business partners, even people at my own office. They all think I'm just some ordinary girl who got lucky." Ethan froze. "Victoria talked to you?" Sophia's silence was answer enough. "When?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "Last week. It doesn't matter." "It does matter." Ethan crossed the room, gripping her shoulders gently. "What did she say?" Sophia looked away, tears burning. "That I'm out of my depth, that I'm a distraction, that you need someone from your world. And you believed her?" "I don't know what I believe anymore." Ethan's hands dropped, his expression crumbling. "Sophia, I need to go." She grabbed her purse, heading for the door. "Don't." Ethan's voice was raw. "Please don't walk away." Sophia paused, her hand on the doorknob. She wanted to turn around, to fall into his arms and forget everything. But Victoria's words, her own doubts, the weight of trying to fit into a world that would never fully accept her, it was all too much. I need space, Ethan. To think, to figure out if I'm strong enough for this. You are. You don't know that. She looked back at him, tears streaming. And neither do I. She left, closing the door softly behind her. In the hallway, Sophia leaned against the wall, her entire body shaking. She'd just walked away from the man she loved, the man who'd opened his heart to her. But as she rode the elevator down, she couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, walking away was the bravest thing she could do. The next 2 weeks were the longest of Sophia's life. She threw herself into the investigation, working late hours, chasing leads, conducting interviews. The story was explosive, documenting years of fraud that had cost investors millions. It was the kind of journalism she dreamed of, hard-hitting and important. But every night, alone in her apartment, she felt the absence of Ethan like a physical ache. He texted her every day, simple messages. Thinking of you. Hope your day was good. I miss you. She never responded, afraid that if she did, her resolve would crumble. Marcus noticed. You look like hell, Bennett. Thanks, Sophia muttered, staring at her computer screen. Man trouble? Something like that. Marcus leaned against her desk. Want some unsolicited advice? Do I have a choice? Nope. He smiled. Whatever it is, don't let pride get in the way of happiness. Life's too short to be stubborn. Sophia wanted to argue, but the words stuck in her throat. That weekend, Sophia's best friend, Maya, dragged her to a gallery opening. You need to get out of your apartment, Maya insisted. You're turning into a hermit. The gallery was small, intimate, displaying abstract art that Sophia barely registered. She was standing in front of a blue and silver painting, lost in thought, when she heard a familiar voice. I thought I might find you here. Sophia spun around. Ethan stood a few feet away, dressed in dark jeans and a charcoal sweater, looking tired, but determined. How did you? Maya texted me. He offered a small smile. She's worried about you. So am I. Sophia's heart raced. Ethan, I told you I needed space. I know, and I've given it to you. 2 weeks. He stepped closer. But I can't do this anymore, Sophia. I can't pretend I'm okay without you. I don't know what you want me to say. Say you'll talk to me. Really talk. Sophia looked around, suddenly aware of the other gallery attendees. Not here. Then where? She hesitated, then sighed. The park. 20 minutes. They met at the small park where they'd shared their first kiss. The memory hung between them, bittersweet and painful. They sat on a bench, not touching, a careful distance maintained. I handled the Victoria thing wrong, Ethan said finally. I should have warned you about her, should have protected you from that. I don't need protecting. I know, but I still should have been honest about how relentless she can be. He turned to face her. Sophia, you're not ordinary. You're not a distraction. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. But she's right, isn't she? Sophia's voice cracked. I don't belong in your world. I don't know the right people. Don't wear the right clothes. I don't care about any of that. But everyone else does. Then they're not worth caring about. Ethan reached for her hand, relief flooding his face when she didn't pull away. I love you, not because you fit some mold, but because you don't. Because you challenge me, make me laugh, make me want to be better. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. I'm scared, Ethan. Scared that one day you'll wake up and realize I'm not enough. You're more than enough. You always have been. He cupped her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. But I understand if you need more time. if you need space to figure things out. I'll wait, however long it takes. Sophia closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. God, she'd missed him. Missed this. Missed the way he looked at her, like she was the only thing that mattered. I don't want to wait, she whispered. I don't want to be apart anymore. Then don't be. Ethan pulled her into his arms, and Sophia broke, sobbing against his chest. He held her tight, his own breath shaky. I've got you. I'm not letting go again. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, the world fading away. When Sophia finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. We need to set boundaries, she said. Real ones. About work, about space, about trust. Okay. And you need to keep going to therapy. I will. And I need you to promise that no matter what happens with my investigation, you'll trust that I'm doing my job with integrity. Ethan tensed slightly. What if your investigation impacts me? Then we deal with it honestly. Sophia held his gaze. I won't bury a story to protect you, Ethan. That's not who I am. For a long moment he was silent. Then he nodded. I understand. And I wouldn't want you to. Relief flooded through Sophia. Okay. Then we try again. For real this time. For real, Ethan agreed. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both smiling through tears, Sophia felt like she could finally breathe again. That night, they went back to his penthouse. They talked for hours, laying everything out. The fears, the insecurities, the boundaries they needed. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. Raw. Real. When Sophia woke the next morning, wrapped in Ethan's arms, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. But hope, as she was about to learn, could be a fragile thing. On Monday, Sophia's investigation took an unexpected turn. One of her sources provided documents showing that the fraud extended beyond the initial companies. It touched some of the biggest names in finance, including firms that had partnered with Ethan's company in recent years. Sophia stared at the documents, her stomach sinking. Ethan's name wasn't directly implicated, but the connections were there. Close enough to cause serious problems. She called Marcus immediately. We have a problem. When she explained, Marcus was silent for a long moment. How close is the connection to Calloway's company? Close enough to raise questions. Can you separate it? Focus on the primary fraud without bringing him in? Sophia wanted to say yes, but her integrity wouldn't let her. Not without compromising the story. The connections are part of the pattern. Marcus sighed. This is going to get messy, Bennett. I know. That evening, Sophia sat in her apartment, staring at the documents spread across her coffee table. She had a choice. She could bury the Ethan connection, focus on the other companies, keep her personal life separate from her professional one. Or she could tell the whole truth, even if it hurt the man she loved. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Dinner tonight. I miss your face. Sophia's hand trembled. She loved him. God, she loved him so much. But she was also a journalist, and journalists didn't bury the truth. She typed back, We need to talk. It's important. The 3 dots appeared immediately. What's wrong? I'll explain tonight. Your place? I'll order in. Come whenever you're ready. Sophia stared at the message, her heart breaking. She knew what she had to do. She just didn't know if their relationship would survive it. Sophia arrived at Ethan's penthouse at 7:30, her stomach in knots. He opened the door with a smile that faded the moment he saw her expression. What's wrong? He asked immediately. Sophia stepped inside, clutching her bag. We need to talk. About my investigation. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he nodded, leading her to the living room. They sat across from each other, the coffee table between them like a barrier. I found something, Sophia began, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "Connections between the fraud I'm investigating and some of your business partnerships." Ethan went very still. "What kind of connections?" "Financial ties, money flowing through subsidiaries. It's circumstantial, but it's there." "And you think I'm involved?" "No." Sophia leaned forward. "I don't think you knew. But the connections exist, and I can't ignore them. Not if I want to write an honest story." For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. His expression was unreadable, a mask of control she hadn't seen in weeks. "So you're going to write about me," he said finally. "Implicate my company in a fraud investigation." "I'm going to write the truth, the whole truth." "Even if it destroys me? Even then?" Sophia's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Ethan. But I can't bury this. I won't." Ethan stood, pacing, to the window. His shoulders were tense, his hands clenched into fists. "Do you know what this could do? The shareholders, the board, the media. They'll tear me apart. I know. And you're willing to do that? To the man you love?" "I love you," Sophia said, tears streaming down her face. "God, Ethan, I love you so much. But I'm also a journalist, and if I compromise my integrity for you, I'll lose myself. And eventually, I'll resent you for it." Ethan turned to face her, his eyes blazing. "So what are you saying? That your career is more important than us?" "I'm saying I can't choose between them. I need both." "You can't have both." His voice was cold, harsh. "You can't love me and destroy me at the same time." Sophia flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair?" Ethan laughed bitterly. "Nothing about this is fair. I opened my heart to you. I trusted you. And now you're going to use that trust to ruin me." "I'm not trying to ruin you." "Then don't publish." The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Sophia stood, her legs shaking. "If you love me, you won't ask me to do that." "And if you love me," Ethan shot back, "you'll find a way to write this story without destroying everything I've built." They stared at each other, the chasm between them widening with every second. "I can't," Sophia whispered. "I'm sorry, but I can't." Ethan's expression crumbled, pain flashing across his face before he shuddered it away. "Then I guess we're done." The words shattered her. Sophia wanted to scream, to beg, to take it all back. But she couldn't. She'd made her choice. "I'm sorry," she said again, her voice breaking. "So am I." Sophia grabbed her bag, moving toward the door on autopilot. At the threshold, she paused, looking back. Ethan stood by the window, his back to her, his shoulders hunched. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I'll always love you." He didn't respond. Sophia left, the door clicking shut behind her with a finality that echoed in her chest. The next week was a blur. Sophia wrote the article, pouring every ounce of professionalism and integrity into it. She presented the facts clearly, carefully, making sure to note that Ethan's company appeared to be an unwitting participant rather than a primary player. But the connections were there, undeniable. Marcus read it and let out a low whistle. "This is good work, Bennett. Devastating, but good." "Thanks," Sophia said hollowly. "You okay?" "No." Marcus didn't push, and Sophia was grateful. The article published on a Thursday morning. Within hours, it was everywhere. News outlets picked it up, dissecting every detail. Ethan's company issued a statement, denying any wrongdoing and promising a full internal investigation. The stock price dropped sharply. Sophia watched it all unfold from her apartment, her phone turned off, her heart in pieces. Maya came over that night, armed with ice cream and wine. "I saw the article, and I saw the fallout. Are you okay?" Sophia shook her head, tears spilling. "I lost him, Maya. I did the right thing, and I lost him." "Oh, honey." Maya pulled her into a hug, and Sophia broke down, sobbing. She'd made her choice, integrity over love, career over heart, and it hurt more than she'd ever imagined. Days turned into a week. Sophia avoided the news, avoided social media, avoided anything that might show her Ethan's face. She went to work, wrote follow-up pieces, and came home to her empty apartment. Then, on Monday evening, her buzzer rang. Sophia frowned, pressing the intercom. "Yes? It's me?" Her heart stopped. "Ethan." She buzzed him up, her hands shaking. When she opened the door, he stood there, looking exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, his usual perfect appearance disheveled. "Ethan." "I read your article," he said, his voice rough. "All of it, including the parts where you went out of your way to note my company's limited involvement." Sophia swallowed hard. "I tried to be fair." "You were more than fair." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "And the internal investigation you prompted?" "We found the fraud. Someone on my team had been funneling money without my knowledge. You exposed it before it destroyed us." Sophia's eyes widened. "What?" "You saved my company, Sophia. By publishing that article, you forced us to look closer, and we found the rot." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't know." "I know." Ethan moved closer, his expression soft. "And I'm sorry for how I reacted, for the things I said. You did your job with integrity, and I punished you for it. I hurt you. You did." He cupped her face, his touch gentle. "But you also saved me. And you showed me that real love means supporting each other, even when it's hard." Sophia's breath hitched. "Ethan." "I love you," he said, his voice fierce. "I love your integrity, your strength, your refusal to compromise who you are. And I'm sorry I ever asked you to." "I love you too," Sophia whispered. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, and Sophia melted into him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "No more secrets," he said. "No more asking you to choose." "No more doubting each other," Sophia agreed. "Deal." They spent the rest of the night talking, rebuilding what had been broken, stronger this time, more honest, more real. And for the first time in weeks, Sophia felt whole again. Over the next few months, things shifted in ways Sophia never expected. The article, rather than destroying Ethan, had elevated his reputation. He was praised for his swift response, his transparency, his commitment to rooting out fraud. Several major investors reached out, wanting to partner with a CEO who clearly prioritized integrity. Sophia, meanwhile, won an award for investigative journalism. The recognition opened doors, leading to offers from major publications. Marcus joked that she'd outgrown the magazine, and while Sophia protested, a part of her knew he was right. But through it all, the constant was Ethan. They fell into a rhythm that felt sustainable, healthy. He went to therapy every week, continuing to work through his control issues and fear of abandonment. Sophia pursued her career with renewed passion, knowing Ethan supported her completely. They spent weekends together, cooking, talking, simply being. One Saturday morning, they were at a farmer's market, Sophia browsing fresh flowers while Ethan carried the bags. A photographer approached, asking if they'd pose for a local lifestyle magazine feature on couples who support each other's dreams. Sophia started to refuse, but Ethan smiled. Why not? They posed, laughing, comfortable in each other's presence. The photographer captured something genuine, a moment of real connection that transcended the usual posed artifice. Later, walking through the park, Ethan took her hand. "I've been thinking." "Dangerous?" Sophia teased. He smiled. "About us, about the future." Sophia's heart skipped. "What about it?" "I want you to move in with me." She stopped walking, staring at him. What? Move in. Officially. Ethan turned to face her fully. I know it's a big step, but Sophia, I can't imagine my life without you. I don't want to spend another night apart. Sophia's mind raced, moving in together. It was huge, terrifying, and absolutely right. Okay, she said. Ethan blinked. Okay? Yes, Sophia laughed, pulling him down for a kiss. Let's do it. Moving in was chaotic. Sophia's tiny apartment was crammed with books, notes, and years of accumulated memories. Ethan hired movers, but Sophia insisted on packing herself, wanting to make sure nothing important was lost. On the day of the move, Ethan showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, ready to help. Sophia nearly dropped the box she was holding. You own jeans. I own lots of things you haven't seen yet. He grinned, taking the box from her. Where does this go? They worked together, laughing and bickering good-naturedly about where things should go. Ethan's penthouse slowly transformed, Sophia's warmth and personality filling the once sterile space. Books lined shelves, colorful throws draped over furniture. Framed photos appeared on walls. By the end of the day, exhausted and covered in dust, they collapsed onto the couch. Home, Sophia said softly. Ethan pulled her close. Home. Life settled into a new normal. Sophia worked from Ethan's home office when she needed quiet, met him for lunch when their schedules aligned, cooked elaborate dinners when they both had energy. It was domestic and wonderful and occasionally frustrating, like when Ethan reorganized her filing system or when Sophia left coffee mugs on every surface. But it worked. One evening, Sophia was working late on a new investigation when Ethan appeared with tea. You need a break, he said, setting the mug beside her laptop. 5 more minutes. You said that an hour ago. Sophia looked up, smiling sheepishly. Guilty. Ethan leaned against the desk, studying her. What's this one about? Healthcare fraud, pharmaceutical companies inflating prices. Sounds important. It is. Sophia saved her work, finally giving him her full attention. But you're right. I need a break. They moved to the living room, Sophia curling into his side. Outside, the city glowed, familiar and comforting. I've been thinking, Ethan said quietly. Again? He smiled. About marriage. Sophia's breath caught. She sat up, looking at him. Marriage? Eventually. Ethan's expression was serious. I know we've only been living together for a few months. I'm not proposing right now. But I wanted you to know that's where I see this going. Sophia's heart swelled. Me too. Yeah? Yeah. She kissed him softly. I want forever with you, Ethan Calloway. Then forever it is. They sat in comfortable silence, the promise of a future together settling around them like a warm blanket. But fate, as always, had other plans. A week later, Sophia was at a journalism conference when she ran into someone from her past. Professor David Harrison, her mentor from college, the man who'd inspired her to become an investigative journalist. Sophia Bennett, he said warmly, pulling her into a hug. I've been following your work. Impressive. Thank you, Professor. Call me David. We're colleagues now. He smiled. I'm actually here to recruit. I'm starting an investigative journalism program in London, year-long intensive. Best students from around the world, and I want you to apply. Sophia's mind reeled. London, a year-long program. It was an incredible opportunity, career-defining. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. David handed her a card. The program starts in 3 months. Applications are due in 2 weeks. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She lay beside Ethan, staring at the ceiling, the opportunity turning over in her mind. London. A year. Away from Ethan. Could they survive that? Long distance, different time zones, months apart. She thought about everything they'd been through. The jealousy, the fights, the growth. They were stronger now. But was that enough? Beside her, Ethan stirred. Can't sleep? Just thinking. He pulled her closer. About what? Sophia hesitated, then told him about David's offer. Ethan listened, his arms tightening around her. That's amazing, Sophia. You should do it. She pulled back to look at him. It's a year. In London. I know. And you're okay with that? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Honestly? No. The idea of you being that far away terrifies me. But I also know this is your dream, and I won't be the reason you don't chase it. Tears filled Sophia's eyes. I don't want to leave you. Then don't think of it as leaving. Think of it as growing. We'll figure it out. You really believe that? I do. He kissed her forehead. We've survived worse. We can survive a year apart. Sophia wanted to believe him, but as she lay in his arms, doubt gnawed at her. Could their love really survive an ocean between them? The decision kept Sophia awake for days. London represented everything she'd worked toward, a chance to learn from the best, to elevate her career in ways she'd only dreamed about. But it also meant leaving Ethan, the man she loved, the home they'd built together. She made lists, weighing pros and cons until the paper was covered in ink. She called Maya, who immediately said, "Go. You'll regret it forever if you don't." She called her mother, who said gently, "Follow your heart, sweetheart, whichever direction it leads." But Sophia's heart was torn in two. Finally, 1 week before the application deadline, Ethan made the decision for her. They were having dinner, a simple pasta dish Sophia had made, when Ethan set down his fork and looked at her seriously. "You're not going to apply, are you?" Sophia froze. "I haven't decided." "Sophia," his voice was gentle but firm, "you're going to turn down the opportunity of a lifetime because you're afraid of what it means for us." "I'm not. You are." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "And I won't let you do that. I won't be the reason you give up your dream." "But what about us?" "We'll figure it out." Ethan squeezed her hand. Video calls, visits, texts. It's 1 year. We can do 1 year. You don't know that. I do. His eyes were steady, certain. Because I love you. And love doesn't have an expiration date or a distance limit. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. What if you meet someone else? What if you realize you're better off without me? Ethan stood, moving around the table to kneel beside her chair. He cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me. There is no one else. There will never be anyone else. You're it for me, Sophia Bennett. Whether you're here or in London or on the moon, you're it." Sophia broke down, sobbing. Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Apply," he whispered against her hair. "Chase your dream. I'll be here when you get back." So she applied. The acceptance letter came 2 weeks later. Sophia was in. The program started in 6 weeks. 6 weeks to prepare. To say goodbye. To pack up her life and move across an ocean. It went by in a blur. Sophia gave notice at the magazine. Marcus hugged her, telling her he was proud. Her co-workers threw her a going-away party, full of tears and laughter and promises to stay in touch. Ethan helped her pack, folding clothes, organizing documents, making sure she had everything she needed. He was supportive, encouraging, never once showing doubt or resentment. But Sophia saw the cracks, the way his jaw tightened when she mentioned London, the extra second he held her in his arms before letting go, the shadows in his eyes when he thought she wasn't looking. The night before her flight, they lay in bed, neither sleeping. "I'm going to miss you," Sophia whispered. I'm going to miss you too. Ethan's voice was rough. What if this is a mistake? What if it's not? He rolled to face her, his eyes fierce even in the darkness. This is right. For you, for your career, and we're going to be okay. Promise? I promise. They made love that night, slow and tender and desperate, memorizing each other, trying to hold on to something that felt like it was slipping away. The next morning, Ethan drove her to the airport. They stood at the security checkpoint, Sophia's bags checked, her boarding pass in hand. I'll call you when I land, she said, her voice shaking. I'll be waiting. Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. I love you. So much. I love you too. He kissed her, deep and fierce, a promise and a plea all at once. When they finally broke apart, both had tears in their eyes. Go, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Before I do something stupid, like beg you to stay. Sophia laughed through her tears, touching his face one last time. 6 months. I'll be back for Christmas. I'm counting down already. She forced herself to turn, to walk through security, to not look back. But at the last moment, she did. Ethan stood where she'd left him, his hand raised in a wave, his expression a mixture of love and heartbreak. Sophia waved back, then disappeared into the crowd. On the plane, she cried. Not sad tears, exactly, but the kind that came from knowing everything was about to change. London was incredible. The program was intensive, challenging, everything Sophia had hoped for. She met journalists from around the world, learned techniques she'd never imagined, worked on stories that mattered. But every night, she called Ethan. They talked for hours, sharing their days, laughing, sometimes crying. The time difference was brutal, but they made it work. At first. By month 3, the calls grew shorter. Ethan was busy with a major acquisition. Sophia was deep in an investigation about human trafficking. They still talked, still said, I love you. But something had shifted. The distance wasn't just physical anymore. By month 5, Sophia couldn't ignore it. Ethan seemed distracted during their calls. Sometimes he forgot to text back. Once, he missed their scheduled video call entirely, apologizing later about a meeting that ran late. Sophia tried not to panic, tried to trust, but doubt crept in, whispering poison. What if he's moving on? What if you're losing him? She threw herself into work, trying to drown out the fear, but it only grew louder. Finally, 2 weeks before Christmas, 2 weeks before she was supposed to fly home, Sophia called him. We need to talk, she said when he answered. Ethan's sigh was audible. I know. Her heart dropped. You know? This isn't working, Sophia. The distance, the time difference. We're drifting apart. Tears burned her eyes. So what are you saying? Silence. Then quietly. I don't know. But I think we need to be honest about whether this is sustainable. I'm coming home in 2 weeks. I know. But then what? You have 6 more months of the program. And after that, who knows? Maybe you'll want to stay in London. Maybe you'll get an offer you can't refuse. I'd come back. For you. And resent me for it eventually. Sophia couldn't breathe. Ethan, please, don't do this. I'm not doing anything. I'm just being realistic. Realistic? Anger flared through her pain. You promised. You said we could do this. I thought we could. But Sophia, I'm barely holding on. Watching you build a life there, knowing I'm not part of it, it's killing me. You are part of it. You're part of everything. Am I? His voice was raw. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just the guy you call at the end of the day. The guy who's waiting for you to come back, if you ever do. The accusation hung between them, sharp and painful. I can't believe you're saying this, Sophia whispered. I can't believe we're here." Neither spoke for a long moment. Finally, Sophia said, "So what do we do?" Ethan's answer shattered her. "Maybe we take a break, give each other space to figure out what we really want." A break. The word tasted like ash. "I'm sorry, Sophia. I need to think, and so do you." The call ended. Sophia stared at her phone, numb. This couldn't be happening. Not after everything they'd survived. But it was. And she had no idea how to fix it. The 2 weeks before Christmas were the worst of Sophia's life. She moved through the program in a daze, her heart shattered, her mind spinning. Maya called daily, offering support and reminding her to breathe. Her mother sent care packages full of tea and chocolate and encouraging notes. But nothing helped. Sophia debated canceling her flight home. What was the point? Ethan had asked for a break. Maybe it was better to give him space, to stay in London and focus on finishing the program. But on Christmas Eve morning, sitting in her small London apartment, Sophia realized something. She was done running. Done letting fear dictate her choices. If Ethan wanted to end things, fine. But he was going to have to say it to her face. She booked a flight home that afternoon. 18 hours later, exhausted and running on fumes, Sophia stood outside Ethan's building. It was Christmas Day. Snow fell softly, coating the city in white. The building was quiet. Most residents away for the holidays. Sophia took a deep breath and buzzed his apartment. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Panic rose. What if he wasn't home? What if he was with someone else? Just as she was about to leave, the door to the building opened. An older woman carrying groceries smiled at her. "Merry Christmas, dear. Are you visiting someone?" "Ethan Calloway, penthouse." The woman's smile widened. "Oh, the handsome young man. He's home. Saw him this morning. Looked a bit down, actually. Go on up." Sophia thanked her and slipped inside before she could lose her nerve. The elevator ride felt endless. When she reached the penthouse floor, her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She knocked. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Ethan stood there, barefoot, wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. His hair was messy, stubble shadowed his jaw, and his eyes were red-rimmed. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Sophia. Her name was barely a whisper. "Hi." They stared at each other. "I thought you weren't coming home until after Christmas," Ethan said finally. "I wasn't. But then I realized I needed to see you, to talk, face to face." He stepped aside, letting her in. The penthouse looked different. Not dirty, but lived in. Coffee mugs on the counter, papers scattered across the dining table, a blanket balled up on the couch. "You look tired," Sophia said. "I am." Ethan rubbed his face. "I haven't been sleeping well." "Me either." They moved to the living room, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. The distance felt insurmountable. "Ethan, I'm sorry," he blurted out, "for the things I said on the phone, for asking for a break. I was scared and hurting, and I lashed out." Sophia's breath caught. "You meant it, though, about drifting apart." "I did. But Sophia, that's on me, not you." He turned to face her fully. "You're doing exactly what you should be doing. Chasing your dream. Growing. And I'm so proud of you." "Then why did you want a break?" "Because I was terrified." His voice cracked. "Terrified that you'd realize you didn't need me, that your life in London was better without me in it. And instead of trusting you, trusting us, I pushed you away." Tears streamed down Sophia's face. "I do need you. God, Ethan, every day I'm there. I wish you were with me. Seeing things, experiencing things. You're not just the guy I call at the end of the day. You're everything." "I know that now." He moved closer, taking her hands. "But when you're thousands of miles away, And I'm sitting here alone. It's easy to forget, to let fear take over. What do we do? Sophia asked desperately. I have 6 more months in London. I can't quit. But I can't lose you either. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, What if I came with you? Sophia blinked. What? To London. Not permanently. But what if I worked remotely? Flew, back for important meetings, but spent most of my time there with you? You'd do that? For you? Yes. His eyes were fierce. I was an idiot to think I could just wait here. If we're going to make this work, we have to be in it together. Physically together. Hope bloomed in Sophia's chest. Your company. We'll survive. I have a great team. And honestly, maybe it's time I learned to delegate, to let go of some control. Sophia laughed through her tears. Your therapist is going to be so proud. I'm already planning to tell her. He cupped her face, his thumbs brushing away her tears. I love you, Sophia, and I'm done being afraid. I'm done letting distance or fear or anything else come between us. I love you too. Sophia kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. So you'll really come to London? Already looking at flights? They held each other, the pieces falling back into place. The next 6 months were an adventure. Ethan moved to London, renting a flat near Sophia's program. He worked remotely, flying back to New York once a month for in-person meetings. But mostly, he was there, with her. They explored the city together, visited museums, tried new restaurants, took weekend trips to Paris and Amsterdam. Ethan met her classmates, attending lectures when he could, offering insights from the business world. Sophia met his London-based colleagues, networking and building connections that would serve her career for years to come. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, still had moments of frustration. But they worked through it, together. When the program ended, they flew home. Sophia had job offers waiting. Major publications, investigative teams, dream positions. She chose the New York Times, staying close to Ethan, building her career while building their life. 6 months later, on the anniversary of the night they met at the gala, Ethan took Sophia back to that same ballroom. It was empty this time, just the two of them, and a string quartet playing softly in the corner. Remember this? Ethan asked, pulling her onto the dance floor. How could I forget? Sophia smiled, her arms sliding around his neck. You told me to pretend I was yours. Best decision I ever made. He kissed her softly. Sophia Bennett, I don't want to pretend anymore. He pulled back, reaching into his pocket. When he dropped to one knee, Sophia's breath caught. I want it to be real. Forever. He opened the box, revealing a simple, stunning diamond ring. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Sophia's face. Yes. God, yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, then stood, pulling her into his arms. They kissed, the music swelling around them, and Sophia knew this was where she was meant to be. Not in a gilded ballroom, or a foreign city, or chasing the next big story. Here. With him. Forever. What did you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what's your rating? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories, and check out more emotional stories by clicking on the end screen.